In this screencast, we'll use InDesign to create a big picture communication timeline for your organization. It will look like a map and have a legend like this. To begin, we'll go to File, New, Document. We want to make sure the page size is letter and orientation is portrait, and we'll click on OK. Next, we'll create a text field by going to the Type tool and dragging down onto the page. We'll fill this in with the months of the year. And after doing that, we'll select all by dragging up. And we're going to go ahead and change the font to Helvetica Neue Light. We'll change it to 85 heavy for the weight, 24 point size, and we're going to change it to 62 point leading, which will spread it out nicely on the page. Next, we'll create another text box, and this time it will have the legend information. We'll just type in call to action, and we're going to type in the items that are actionable. So we have registration, donation, membership. Your organization may have a few different items on here. I'm going to go ahead and change the call to action to Helvetica Neue Light, 85 heavy, and for the items in the legend, I'm going to make them a 14-point font, and I'm just going to tab them over. Feel free to experiment with fonts and sizes. And I'm tabbing them over so that there's room for the shapes that we're going to be creating. I'm going to go ahead and change this to an 18-point font to make it a little bit bigger on the page. And then I'm going to drag it down. Next, we'll go ahead and create the shapes. And so we'll go to the rectangle tool, and holding down Shift, I'm going to drag down to create a square instead of a rectangle. And when I go to the selection tool, I'm going to go ahead and select the item, and while I'm holding down Option, I'm going to drag down to make a copy. And I'll do this for as many items as I have in my legend. So there's 3 items, and now I have 3 shapes. I'm going to click on this first shape, and I'm going to make sure that the stroke is none and that the fill is red. And I'm going to drag over the next shape. I'll again make sure that the stroke is none, and I'm going to change the color to green. And for this shape, I'm going to take away the stroke, and I'm going to change the color to blue. And now I'm going to change the shapes, and so I'll just click on one shape, and I'll go to Object, Convert Shape, and I'm going to change it to an ellipse. And for the donation one, I'm just going to go to Object, Convert Shape, and I'll make it a triangle. You can experiment with rotation. If you hover close to the field that is highlighted and you hold down Shift and drag down, you can go ahead and rotate that shape. And I'm going to go ahead and select these. I'll align them center, and I'm going to make a copy on the side again by pressing Alt or Option and dragging over, because we'll use that for future use. So go ahead and drag these into the legend, and then I'll space them out as I like. Once I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and select these items and group them together by clicking on Command and the letter G for group, so that everything moves together and I don't have to worry about losing any information. I'll go ahead and click on the rectangle tool again, and I'll create a little box around it to make that key, and it automatically has a stroke there. And so what I'm going to do is click outside and click W, and you could see that there is a stroke. You could feel free to play around with the stroke by clicking on it and changing the number. It's selected to 1 point. And you can go ahead and change what type of stroke shows. I like the nice just thick black line there, and so I'll keep it that way. But there's lots of options for you. And so I'm going to go ahead and select all those, and I'm going to group those together, and so now everything will move as one unit. In a different document, I have all of the events set up, and so I'm just going to paste them onto the page, and I'm going to line it up. And you might need a little bit of time to adjust where everything lines up, and just feel free to take a little time to line everything up there. And so now what we're going to do is go ahead and just move this in a little bit. And you want to make sure that there's some space between your events and the month names. And you'll just go ahead and create copies of these shapes again by pressing Alt and moving over. And you'll see that wherever registration is, you can just fill that in. And we notice that the shape is too big. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all and go to Option, Object, Transform, and Scale. And I'm going to scale it down 65% and just hit OK. Now I can go ahead and just fill in the map with the necessary information. Okay, and so once everything is filled in, you can just drag down in the middle for the shapes and click on the Align Horizontal Centers, and everything will line up. And if you click outside again and hit W, you could see where everything is, and you could feel free to change where things lie on the page and remove some excess information. That's how you create a big picture communication timeline. Thanks for watching.